2024 is going to be wild. It's over for Joe Biden. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's too late to have a primary. The Democratic National Committee and Convention is going to be nuts because Joe Biden cannot win. I don't know how they have him step down. I don't know what's going to happen. We all have our theories and predictions, but take a look at the story. Shame on you. Joe Biden gets booed and heckled on streets of Nantucket as protesters are kept away from the president after interrupting his earlier shopping trip. My friends, Nantucket is like a D plus 25. Biden won by, what was his margin was in 2020, 45%. The 2020 United States presidential election in Massachusetts by county. Am I getting this? I feel like this has got to be crazy. Am I getting the wrong state here? It's Nantucket. It's nuts. Take a look at this. Nantucket, 5,241 votes, I believe that's the number. 71.42% Joe Biden. Donald Trump got 26. And Libertarian Joe Jorgensen got 81. We can see the margin, 45% total votes cast, 7,330. It is a very small place. Joe Biden is being booed. Now, I suppose you can make the argument that 26%, 1,000 people there, they're going to boo him, right? They voted for Trump. But come on, we're talking about a deep blue place where Joe Biden is going shopping and is getting heckled and booed. Youth vote swings for Trump. Bank branches closing. The economy in shambles. Biden cannot win. Okay, well, I should say, Biden can't win the hearts and minds of the people. Anything else? I don't know for sure. I mean, who knows what elections are really all about? They're not really. I think the Republicans make the mistake of thinking elections are, I'm going to convince you to vote for me. Whereas Democrats make the distinction of saying, I'm going to make sure we get as many votes as possible. A big difference. Let's start here and read the story. The Daily Mail reports Joe Biden was booed and heckled on the streets of Nantucket on Saturday, even as people protesting the war in Gaza were kept away from the president. The president's motorcade even took a different route from where it was staying. Wow. Into town to avoid driving past protesters gathered on the side of the road with signs saying Free Palestine. These are not Trump supporters, ladies and gentlemen. A group of about 40 people calling for an end to the fighting in Palestine were kept down one end of the main street, about 6 blocks where Biden was shopping with wife Jill Biden and son Hunter Biden and their grandchildren. The protesters held a large banner reading "Ceasefire Forever" and chanted, "The pause is just a pause, a permanent ceasefire, let Gaza live." You know, I just got to say, I love this when they're saying a permanent ceasefire. Bro, Hamas is the one who's breaking the ceasefire. Come on. Yeah, go ask them to stop shooting at Israel. Anyway, I digress. They say additionally, people in the crowds that lined the sidewalk shouted "Shame on you" and "Armchair murder" as the president walked by while others booed. But there were also plenty of cheers mixed in with the catcalls as Biden supporters tried to drown out his critics. Biden does not have supporters. Sorry, you're not lying to me. It ain't going to happen. Okay. Joe Rogan is talking to The Rock, and The Rock is like, I got friends who support Biden. I got friends who support Trump. And then Joe goes, "Do you really have friends who support Biden?" And then The Rock goes, no, good call out. That's a distinction. I have friends who support the Democrats and I have friends who support Trump. Yes, nobody. Come on, spare me the lies. Yeah, sure. There may be some people coming out. They're pro-Israel. And so they're booing or trying to drown out the pro-Palestine, perhaps. But ain't nobody sitting there being like, woohoo, Joe Biden. I'm sure they exist somewhere, but few and far between. Andrew Yang tweeted this. The Democratic Party is like a football team with an 81-year-old quarterback, and the fans are begging for a quarterback change for the 2024 Super Bowl. But my friend, it's too late for a primary. Waffle Sensei, here he is. It's too late, Andrew. You've lost. Get desperate. Oof. Do Americans approve or disapprove of Joe Biden? Wow. 55% disapprove, 38.9% approve. He's in many ways, or I should say in many areas, worse than Trump at Trump's worst. Trump's approval rating was pretty low, but this is lower. Trump is ahead in 5 of 6 swing states. Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, and Michigan. In Wisconsin, Joe Biden's got a lead. And that's kind of crazy to me. Like, how does he have a lead in Wisconsin, of all places? And of course, oh boy. You see, On November 26th, when Andrew Yang posted this, Donald Trump was winning by 2.3 points in aggregate. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the latest from Real Clear Politics average. Donald Trump is up 2.6 points in aggregate. There's only a single poll, and I love this. It's Rasmussen of all polls. That's kind of worrying because maybe they're the only accurate one, right? Rasmussen tends to put out polls that are more favorable to Trump right now. As of November 8th to the 12th, Joe Biden is up 4 points among 987 likely voters polled by Rasmussen. We got some pretty good ones. Harris, with nearly 3,000 registered voters. Registered voters. Trump is up 6 points. The Messenger has Trump up 6 points with 3,000. Morning Consult with 5,800. Trump is up 3. I do not see how Joe Biden shows up to Nantucket and is booed and somehow manages to win in 2024. So what might happen? I'm going to tell you. Have you seen the story about masks in China? The mysterious new plague? Uh-oh. Look, a lot of people are saying don't fall for the new pandemic nonsense as the World Health Organization says everybody's got to wear a mask in China again. Doesn't matter if you fall for anything. What matters is people with guns showing up and shutting down voting booths and forcing a vote by mail once again. But before we get to that, let's talk about the basic reality of sentiment in this country. Now, I can tell you outright Trump's winning in aggregate, but here's where it really matters. In this story from NBC News, a number of public polls show young voters turning on Biden. Just say the way it needs to be said, NBC. Young people support Donald Trump. You know what it is? I bet millennials are the ones who are voting for Biden. And I bet Gen Z are more likely to support Trump, and they're causing this shift. Because I got to tell you, when you look at the data, man, millennials, they'd be messed up. But here's the story from just over a week ago. The NBC News poll isn't the only one showing Biden struggling with young voters. The latest national NBC News poll finds Joe Biden trailing former President Trump among young voters 18 to 34, with Trump getting support from 46% to Biden's 42%. It's a striking finding, given that Biden won 18 to 29-year-olds by more than 20 points in 2020. And Biden was leading Trump among 18 to 34-year-olds by similar margins in June of 23 and September of 23. NBC poll says. This is the important thing. You get Ian Crossland over here being like, the polls are pointless because they don't ask everybody. And it's like, they're trying to make educated guesses using a sampling of the different demographics they have seen in polling. If we see 1 million people who are conservative vote this way and 1 million people who are liberal vote this way, we then ask 100 of each of these groups to see if we can get a sampling and make a determination. There is a margin of error, of course. The point is, however, it matters little when we're actually looking at the same poll. Okay? So here's what I mean. It may not be representative of the entire nation, but it is certainly representative of this particular group. NBC asks a group of young people, who you got? Biden, Trump. They say Biden. They say, okay. They come back a month later. Who you got? Biden, Trump. They say Biden. They say, okay. They come back a few months later. Say, who you got? Trump or Biden? They say Trump. What that shows is a shift in sentiment among this group. It is extremely unlikely the shift in sentiment exists only in the one group. It may not be a perfect representation of the entire country, but it does show that among young people, there is very likely a shift happening towards Donald Trump. I don't think it's fair to say that with Palestine, young people are jumping ship off Biden because that would mean they're going to support Trump. They may be outright saying, I abstain, but then you would see in the numbers X amount say neither or refuse, won't answer, don't have an answer. It may be. Many young people are actually kind of pro-Israel or at the very least opposed to Hamas. So when that happened and these leftists went out cheering on Hamas, a lot of young people were like, dude, I'm out, man. Like Michael Rappaport. This guy hates Donald Trump. And he comes out and says voting for Trump is on the table because of the Israel stuff. Now, they point out, to be fair, look at this. The margin of error was 6 points. Rather meaningless. Only 250 people. Fine. But this is the point I'm making. If they're asking similar groups and seeing a shift, the shift is what matters. It may be wrong, but the shift is what matters. I wonder if Rasmussen's right. And the narrative here is to goad Trump supporters into a false sense of security. so that they all think, oh, we're going to win no matter what, and then they don't vote. Now, I tell you, charge is what you do. When you're on the battlefield and the enemy is breaking ranks, you don't say, okay, I guess we pack it in. You say, charge. Now more than ever, everyone must go and tell their friends, their family members to vote. This is it. The surge. Everybody fill out your mail-in ballots. Do whatever you have to do. You vote, you register voters, you ask your friends and family, say, everybody got to register to vote. You got to register to vote. Storm the gates. They say, that means Trump's advantage among young voters in the poll is well within the margin of error, but the shift against Biden is not. You see, I'm making the same point. The NBC News poll isn't the only recent poll showing Biden struggling with young voters. Take a look at this. Amazing. Biden won younger voters 60% to 36% over Trump in 2020, according to NBC News exit poll, a 24-point margin. His margin with young voters in a number of recent national polls has been significantly lower. And here's the shift, baby. In October, Biden was up 3. In October, New York Times had him up 1. CNN had I'm sorry. I got this backwards. I can't believe they're wait. So they're doing this weird. They're doing this very, very weird. I see. No, I have it right. Biden is up 3 in October. Biden is up 1. New York Times says October to November. Trump is up by 1, October to November, according to CNN. I love this one. CNBC, same time period, has Biden up 25. Certainly that's an outlier. Quinnipiac, November 9th, up 9 for Biden. November, Biden is up 7. And NBC News, November 10th to 14th, Biden is down 4 points. Trump is up 4 points. I tell you why it matters. In New York, we got some polls, my friends. New York State. Joe Biden is up by 10 points. Yeah, we talked about this last week. Up by 10 points. That is terrifying for Democrats. But you might be saying, but why, Tim? He's winning by 10 points. Trump can't certainly win. Donald Trump down by 10 in a D plus 27. That means Biden is expected to have a natural poll of around 75 to 80%, 77 to be precise. And right now he's up 10 points. There is a shift. It is real. And I got a story for you that could explain why. Let's keep it simple, my friends. From Zero Hedge, 64 U.S. bank branches filed to shut down in a single week. Now, I want to be honest. I think a large portion of these shutdowns are due to the fact that people don't use bank branches anymore. We used to need to go in to make deposits, or you get your checks, you get your cards, all this stuff. Now it's all digital. It's all online. So a lot of these banks are like, why do we even have these branches if nobody's coming here? There's another harsh reality. As we are looking at crime and homelessness, you're looking at people facing economic strife. I learned this. In Chicago, they just approved a $1.6 billion resort, Bally's Chicago Casino Resort on the river in the River West neighborhood of Chicago. This is crazy. $1.6 billion into a casino. Something else happened. So I was hanging out with family. Someone mentioned they opened a new Bally's casino in Chicago. And I said, what? Chicago can't have casinos. They've got river casinos in Illinois. They got Harrah's. They've got Elgin. And they have another one. They have Rivers in Des Plaines. But gambling in Illinois has always been tough, unless you're on a river boat, because that's like grandfathered in. Sure enough, we learned they did open a casino in downtown Chicago. Interesting. It's temporary. They took his old building, they put a casino in it. It's a temporary casino until 2026 when they open the massive resort in River West, a $1.6 billion facility. How is this possible? I ask. Here's my point. Where I live, we're in the tri-state, Western Maryland, West Virginia. You've got Hollywood Casino. You've got MGM National Harbor, Maryland Live, Horseshoe Baltimore. You've got the Delaware I think it's a dog track, is it? Racetrack. It might be horses. And that's about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. Not that far. You have Harrisburg, Hollywood. You have Hollywood, York. You have Rocky Gap. And that's 8. And what am I missing? I know I'm probably missing another one. Rocky Gap. And we'll just leave it at that. point is 8 casinos within a couple hours drive. Now, if I want to say within a 1 hour drive, you've got Hollywood, York, you've got 3 Hollywoods. You've got 2 in PA, 1 in West Virginia, and then you've got Maryland Live, National Harbor, and Baltimore. There are 6 casinos within just about an hour of each other. The crazy thing is you can go from Maryland Live to Horseshoe in like 20 minutes. Casinos are fun. Playing games is fun. But it's usually about hanging out. You don't want to spend too much money. But in Illinois, they legalized slot machines. I saw this a year ago. I go to a bar and they're like, oh, that's been around for a while. They've had slot machines everywhere. Yeah, now there's hot spots, they're calling them. They're all over West Virginia. Here's my point, man. Young people are voting for Donald Trump. I'll tell you why. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford to have families. Many of them, don't get me wrong, are entitled, but not every single one. How is it that you have casinos which produce, it's entertainment. I got no problem if someone wants to spend $100 going to see Taylor Swift for entertainment. Or if you want to spend $100 playing blackjack and then you get some drinks and you go home, especially if the drinks are free. That's not what casinos do, though. There's no cap. People go in there and they lose a lot of money. How is it right now that there are so many people, that casinos are making so much money that they can keep popping up and opening all over the place, that there could be 6 or 8 casinos within a couple hours of each other when young people and people are struggling in this country? Wealth inequality and wealth disparity. There are people who have the means to gamble and they don't think twice. Then there are people who are gambling when they really shouldn't. But that's not the majority. The most people who are at the casinos, now, I'll tell you this. Some people might play once or twice a year, and so they're getting a little bit of everybody. But to be able to lose money like that, when there are videos of young people being like, I can't afford food. We like to buy these salami packs. I mentioned this. We like to buy these salami packs. It's got 3 different kinds. They're very delicious. I love the red pepper one. And they're $12 a pack now. 12. That's crazy. Now, we can afford it as a business. But, people are going to need raises. How are they going to afford all this? This is the crisis of the Biden economy. You can blame Trump. You can blame whoever you want. But Biden, the buck stops with him. When people can't afford to eat, bank branches are closing down. And people still use them. And they're like, why is my bank shutting down? Even if traffic is low, they should be able to stay open. Nope. Can't afford it. People can't afford to eat. Yet casinos are popping up all over the place. That freaks me out. It's like a sign of the end of times. Or like the society is collapsing. How many casinos you got in Philly now? Right? I think there's 2 right there on downtown. There's a Rivers and there's Philly Live, I think it is. I'm probably getting it wrong. Then you got Atlantic City. There are people who can easily afford this stuff, and then there's the average person who can't. This disparity can't function. What's going to happen? Make the argument that Republicans and rich people vote for Trump. They'll get a tax break. They'll vote for Trump. Then poor people are struggling, and Joe Biden's floundering. They're going to vote for Trump. People want to live that lifestyle. They want to be able to go and gamble lots of money and just not have to worry about anything. But the average person's struggling right now, and young people are struggling right now. So what's the response? Here you go, baby. Footage shows mask-wearing crowds piling into an overwhelmed Beijing hospital amid fears over mysterious pneumonia sweeping the country. But China insists flu and usual winter bugs are to blame, not a new virus. This is the fear. Something's going to spring up and they're going to say swine flu. We saw that report. A man got swine flu. They're going to say something like the bat flu or whatever. Got to wear masks. Got to hunker down. We're going to have to vote by mail once again. That seems to be the play. But we'll see. I'm not so convinced. You got to watch out for the trial balloons. They'll run programs like this, see if people agree with it, and if the resistance is fierce, they'll back away and try something else. A/B testing, as it were, in real life. I don't know what they could possibly do to get Joe Biden a victory. I do not know what they can do. It seems like the only reality is that they're going to have to pull Biden out, bring in Newsom, and Newsom can't beat Trump. He can't. There's not enough time for Newsom to build a narrative. They have to remove Kamala somehow. It just does not seem plausible. They'll try, perhaps. Or maybe Biden just runs and loses, and we get another term of Donald Trump. Maybe the plan that they have isn't so much that Biden's going to win. They know he won't. The plan is going to be, once Trump is in, destroy him. That may be it. I got to tell you, the way to defeat Trumpism isn't to put Biden in office. That empowers Trump. Look at what happens under this failing economy and this political crisis. Biden starts to lose miserably. If Donald Trump was the president right now with this level of economic disaster and gas prices and everything, they'd be blaming Donald Trump, and rightly so. The buck stops with him. But when Trump was president, minus COVID, things were really good. The economy was booming, and people were having a great time. They were spending money. People were working. Under Joe Biden, they're not. So you can whittle it down whatever you want. You can make any claim you want about who would or would not be a better president, but all that matters is under Trump it was good, under Biden it's bad. And people take notice. So maybe the plan is once Trump does get elected, then they're going to start saying, geez, look how bad things are getting. The real subversion, the effective subversion, would be to destroy the economy under Trump so that everyone rejects whatever it is Trump stands for. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.